Welcome back to Beer Brackets, everybody. Today we're getting back to a style of episode that we did once before, man. Once, and I loved it. It was one of my favorite episodes that we ever did, and we're going to get to do another one today. We've done top Irish beers for St. Patrick's Day, and today we're doing top beers for the winter season, for the holiday season. So just like the last time, we're sticking to the same format. Alessandra and I are going to open and close our holiday beer brackets, giving you all recommendations on different beers that we think fit ever so nicely with this wonderful cold season here. And oh my God, man, so many amazing styles of beer that work so well in the winter, right? But we also did the same thing as last time where we polled our subscribers, we polled our followers, and we asked people to let us know what they want to suggest as well. So what do they normally drink? So we got some good viewer suggestions as well that we're going to get to at some point during the episode. My friend, I am thirsty. I am ready. Let's get into these. What are you opening your holiday beer brackets with, and what's your first suggestion?
Well, my friend, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here with you and all of our viewers.
As always.
I am so excited. I have actually presented this beer on the channel before, and some of our early viewers might remember this, but I thought it's the top holiday beers. I have to mention it again because it's one of my all-time favorite. The St. Bernardus Christmas Ale.
Oh, we love St. Bernardus so much.
Isn't it so festive? And since I actually presented it last time, the label has changed. It's a little bit more festive. You know, there's a little snow. This is one of my personal favorites. Actually, I'd never had it before I moved here to the U.S., and then it started becoming like I tried it the first year that I was here around the holidays, and it kind of became a tradition ever since. So it's a must for me. It's such a delicious beer.
Yeah, what a classic Christmas beer, the holiday ale. I love that they have the new St. Bernardus branding is actually really cool. I really love it. So I like that they updated the Christmas ale with that new branding too. I still have never tried that one. Just it doesn't get imported to Canada. I can't get that here. But what a fantastic suggestion. So if you live down in the States and you're not up in Canada like I am, where unfortunately we're deprived of all the delicious beers, and you can get the St. Bernardus holiday ale. But my friend, great minds think alike. Now, everybody who watches the channel knows what big fans of St. Bernardus we are. And I was thinking, well, you know, I have to, because St. Bernardus beers are such a go-to for me in the winter season and the holiday season, I had to feature one of the St. Bernardus beers. But, you know, we just did the ABT 12 re-review. I was like, you know what? There's one beer. There's one beer from St. Bernardus that I love that hasn't got enough love on the channel. Is the St. Bernardus Prior 8. St. Bernardus Chalice, ready to go.
Look at this. Great minds, my friend. Great minds.
Oh, let's crack open these beers and let's talk a little bit about them, man. Let's gush about them. Go back and watch our The Best Flight of Beer in the World episode where we go through all the main St. Bernardus offerings. Patrick 6 is a little lighter, a little bit more caramel-like. This one is dark.
Such a delicious beer you picked, my friend.
Look at that. So dark with that big, just effervescent head on it there. So just exploding with carbonation like all St. Bernardus beers are. This beer, seriously, I know the ABT 12 gets all the attention. This one does not get enough love. That fits just perfectly into the glass there with the head. Mine fell short a little bit. You got the perfect cap on it.
Look at that.
Well, cheers, my friend. Let us open.
Cheers to you, my friend.
Winter holiday beer brackets. That's so funny that we both chose St. Bernardus beers. This recipe for the Prior 8 goes back to when they were still brewing beers for West Lateran. That one, I don't know if it was a monk, but whoever it was that stole the West Lateran yeast and ran away to...
Run!
He took this recipe, I'm assuming, and ran back and made this delicious Prior 8 with it.
I imagine it like he took that book with all the recipes and the Prior 8 was in there.
I know. With other monks with pitchforks chasing them down the hills. What is that? Describe it a little. What's the aroma like on that one?
Everybody knows how much we love the ABT 12. And I would say this has that same essence, but it adds a little bit more spices as expected.
Okay.
But like
spicy.
Always, what I like is that the way that they are able to balance all the ingredients. So you have those classic clove and cinnamon and probably cardamom, like at least that's the note that I'm getting. But they're just like at the end, in the finish, very gentle. They're not overpowering, and you still have that nice, like, rich presence of a classic ABT 12. Takes me right to Christmas. Like, it's just like a fantastic beer experience. How about you, my friend?
Delicious.
Remind me of that Prior 8. I haven't had it in quite a while.
The Prior 8 is 8% as opposed to the ABT 12, which is 10. So is that one 10% ABV? The Christmas sale?
Let me see. I think
check it out.
Yeah, it's exactly 10%.
So it's a little lighter. It's weird to say that an 8% ABV beer is lighter, but it is a little lighter on the palate than the ABT 12, I'm sure. So it's actually very extremely drinkable, which is dangerous again for an 8% ABV beer. The aroma is really strong when you pour it out, really like caramel, dark fruit, prunes. There's a nuttiness there as well, a little bit of spiciness. It's really just, and a lot of chocolate that jumps out at you. It's super delicious. And then when you take a sip, it's very subtle. Dark roasted malts, a little bit of hop there, but really just prunes, dark fruit, chocolate. Awesome. Such an amazing beer. While we sip on these, I think we need to get to our member suggestions here. I'm going to break out my beer computer.
I can't wait here, my friend. These are my favorite ones.
Yeah. We're going to read through some of our member suggestions. So we posted on Instagram, asked all our good folks here what kind of beers they would recommend. And we got some fantastic suggestions. I love a good beer computer. All I'm missing is the beer fire. I had a nice beer fire going. There's a little bit of warmth coming off my my beer bar.
We are here in the pub, basically, surrounded by our friends and viewers. Yeah. That's fantastic.
So we have Anakin.S.66. I enjoy Guinness / Left Hand Nitro Milk Stout. You know, obviously Guinness is a go-to winter beer, right, man? I mean, we drink a lot of Guinness in the winter. We talk so much about Guinness on this channel, so we didn't want to feature it necessarily on this episode, but you have something to say about Left Hand Brewing's Nitro Milk Stout, no?
I do, my friend. Like, that beer blew my mind when I came here to the U.S. because knowing how big of a Guinness fan I am, you know, I've always been a little hesitant trying, like, you know, obviously there's Murphy's, other beers that like resemble that. But like when it comes to stouts coming, at least for me here in the US, like a lot of the other ones that I had tried that I wasn't very familiar with back in Europe, they tend to be a little bit more thick and rich in both consistency and flavor. But I still remember that first experience with having like Left Hand. Like, it's just like mind blowing because it's different, very different compared to Guinness.
It's so different.
It has its unique character and it's so well brewed. You can taste all the perfect elements.
Delicious.
And one of the things that is I thought was also very neat, they also, like Guinness does, they have a specific recommendation on how to pour the beer. So the first time that I ordered it, it was actually in the bottle. I don't think the cans were still available. The waitress came over and said, I have to pour it in the way they want it. I said, okay, like, go right ahead. I was like all happy about that. And she goes like, she turned the bottle all upside down so that actually the effect, like with the nitrogen, could happen. And I thought that was just a testament of like how important it is for them and like the way they want the beer to be presented. And the experience was amazing. So I highly recommend that one.
There's detractors to that kind of thing, especially when it comes to like Guinness, let's say, who think that, all this fussing over how you pour it, the letting it settle, the 2-part pour, the style of glass you use, they think it's all overkill. Maybe it is, and maybe it could possibly be, but doesn't it just make it so much more fun? Doesn't it just add to the whole beer experience? It just adds to the special moment that is enjoying that particular beer. So thank you, Anakin S66, for that great suggestion. And then we have good old Nate, One Man's Odyssey. Always can count on Nate for leaving a really good comment on any video and giving us good suggestions. Nate. So he mentioned a beer that I had never heard of before. I think that's probably not surprising to say I never heard of it before. I don't think this beer is exported at all outside of the Chicago area from what I could see. This beer is called Santa vs. Unicorn by Pipeworks Brewing in Chicago. So here's what they say about the beer. There's no information about this beer anywhere online aside from this. This is the only information I can find. An Imperial Red Ale, an American-style barley wine, or Red Double IPA. Barley wine is really interesting. We haven't talked about barley wine on the channel yet. Call it what you will. Grab one and get your jollies while the holiday fight is on. I would love to try this beer. Thank you so much for suggesting it, Nate. That's awesome. That it's a good go-to of yours. I know you have some ties there to Chicago, so that makes sense. Then we have the real Lindsay _H, who said Sierra Nevada Narwhal or Sierra Nevada Celebration. What another great suggestion.
What a wonderful suggestion. And Narwhal, was actually featured here on the channel before, and I had never had it before then. And what a great suggestion. It's really a complex beer. It's a beer that is suggested to be aged. So when I tried it was actually like this version from this year, so with no age at all, and it was still like very surprising and rich. So I can't imagine like how it's going to taste like with an aging one. So if anybody has tried like an aged version, it would be very fun to hear their experience. Let us know.
And then last but not least, comment from Vincent, who has a very, very awesome Instagram I would check out, to some great things with 3D modeling and 3D printing. He recommended quelque chose from Unibrew. Now, my friend, this beer, I was so happy when I saw this, and I'm so happy that we get to at least talk about this beer. I can't have this beer right now, but I'm so happy that we get to at least talk about this beer on the channel, because Alessandro, you would be so fascinated by this beer. Unfortunately, this is a true beer legend, an absolute beer legend. It's been retired by Unibrew. I think the last time they brewed it was 2016. There are vintages that are still for sale that you can buy. So if you do get a bottle of quelque chose, which translates from French to English into just something. So if you can get a bottle of something, it is aged for a couple of years, obviously, if it was last brewed in 2016. I think they're a little bit pricey if you can get your hand on it. This is where it's interesting, man. Listen to this. It's made with kind of fermented cherries, maraschino cherries. So it was originally seasonal beer for wintertime. So this is kind of like the standard, really kind of traditional Quebec, Unibrew being based out of Chambly, Quebec. This was something that people would break out in the wintertime. Gives like aromas of cherry and chocolate, kind of like the white whale. But here's another interesting fact, my friend. It was recommended to heat it to 70 degrees Celsius or 158 degrees Fahrenheit. And they recommended heating it in a skillet and then pouring it into a mug and drinking it. So it was recommended to be drank at a very, very high temperature in the winter seasons. But they said you could also make cocktails out of it and pour it over ice in the summer season. Quelque chose. What if you can get your hand on an old vintage of quelque chose? Power to you. Let us know down below if any chance you can do that. And what a fantastic suggestion. Thank you. That made for a great beer story right there. My friend, it is time. I'm going to close my beer computer. We're going to put these delicious beers away just for a moment. And what is your second suggestion? And one last sip before we put them away.
Mm-hmm. Necessary.
So excited for this one. This is going to be a good one.
All right. So it's interesting. Like for my closing beer, I'm actually going to finish with the beer that was recommended. And that beer is the Sierra Nevada Celebration.
Isn't that amazing? It's like we're on the same wavelength as our viewers. It's just crazy. These suggestions that we get in, it's like, that was already what we're going to recommend.
It's like we said, we're sitting here at the pub with all our friends, and it's just like, it's wonderful. We just haven't met them yet.
Exactly.
Well, first of all, let me show the label. I think the label is so festive, so nice.
Oh, yeah,
look at that. Show you here on the side.
That's so cool.
Has the little
fresh hop IPA.
Little cabin in the mountains with the snow. Let me tell you a little bit about this beer. So
please do.
This, first of all, like this beer has been brewed since the very first year, so 1980. So it actually recently celebrated the 40 years anniversary. And actually, that's where the things like tie in, because they celebrated their 40 years anniversary on, sorry, my friend, like Wally got in here once.
Oh, no worries.
That's all good. Like he wanted to taste the beer, of course.
He smelled the beer. I want a sip of the beer.
The 40-year anniversary happened right around the time when we started our channel, which is pretty cool. I think, like as a tie-in with a bigger beer history.
That is really cool.
Speaking about the beer itself, like the idea is they brew it between October and between October and December. The idea is that at the end of the harvest season for hops, they take the freshest hops they can possibly get, rush them to the brewery, and brew this beer that is then showcasing the best and possible freshest hop experience possible. And it's then made available between October and December. And it has been since the beginning a classic way of celebrating the holiday season. And I will say, I tried first when I moved here, and I fell in love with it immediately, which is again, like everybody here on the channel knows, like we normally don't like are crazy about like IPAs, but I can't wait to tell you about this, my friend. This is an experience.
One of my go-to holiday beers, and I know in our top beers for St. Patrick's Day episode, we recommended easy to find, easy to access beers. That was kind of the premise of a lot of these top lists that we do. This one is very easy to find in Ontario, where I am. It's very you might not be able to find it in the States. This brewery, Collective Arts, does export from my current hometown, where I'm living right now, Hamilton, Ontario. And this is the Stranger Than Fiction Porter. I love this beer. It makes a great use of a whole different mix of hops as Cascade Nugget and Magnum. And it gives it like this really nice, deep, chocolatey, but hoppy flavor to it all at once. And the artwork, all these Collective Arts beers, I mean, it's the whole kind of point of the Collective Arts Brewery is that it's a collective art circle. So, I mean, there's artists who take part in working with the artwork that goes on the cans, onto the cases, on the boxes. It's always just an experience looking over one of these cans, and they're always swapping it out and changing it too. So let's pour these out, man.
Let's do it, my friend. That sounds amazing, by the way. Like, I can't wait to hear your impressions.
Collective Arts does such a great job with their dark beers. They're all really full of character. Oh, man. Dude, I wish you could try this one. And you might be able to get it down in Florida, because they might export this one. This is one of their main line beers.
I might actually be able to, so I'm going to definitely look for it, like, because it sounds very interesting. And if you're saying that it's good, man, like, it's guaranteed for me.
So
that's
good.
enough.
Cheers, buddy. Here's the
Cheers
closing
to you, my
our
friend.
winter holiday beer brackets. So delicious.
Oh, I love this beer. It's so good.
It looks like it's got like a really sort of ruby red color to it.
It does, doesn't it? Like, I'm going to show everybody here, obviously. And that's one of the things I like, that it showcases the hops in a beautiful way. Like, and I think Cascade is one of the primary, I think Centennial. But what I like about it is how they balance it with the maltiness. Because while it has like the very strong and aromatic presence of the hops and that unique presence of fresh hops, but it's backed by the maltiness and the color, like kind of like, not that it's necessarily an indication of it, but it showcases also on the palate.
Yeah.
And I like that because it's very balanced. So you have that strong hop presence, but then you have that nice malty finish that makes it very comforting, just like perfect for the holiday season. I think you would love this one, my friend.
Oh, man, it sounds like I would love it.
Fantastic beer.
This one is so incredible. It's got like a really strong sort of spicy, chocolatey aroma to it, like very sort of exotic spice. Something that's kind of hard to pinpoint. It's one of those aromas where you're like, that's so interesting. That makes me think of a million different things, but it's hard to really pinpoint what that aroma is. But it's very spicy, very kind of floral, combined with like dark malts, chocolate. The body, like the mouth feels very light, it's very carbonated, very fluffy. And then the taste is just like a finish of chocolate, maybe some dark berries, dark fruit. It is absolutely delicious. If you can get your hands on a Collective Arts Stranger Than Fiction, if you're looking it up in Canada or a state where they export it, definitely recommend it this holiday season to sip by the holiday beer fire. Friend, this was such a pleasure. This was so much fun. Let us know down below, what are your go-to holiday beers? What are your go-to winter beers? Post them down below to share with all the other viewers. Give people some suggestions on what to look for. We hope you enjoyed it. Crack the holiday beer along with us. Open and closed your holiday beer brackets.
No matter what, don't forget to close. That's the most important thing. Never forget.
Never forget.